Hello, welcome to another toneless landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today is the limited palette demonstration of Raw Sienna. It's a 5x7, and Raw Sienna, please come up, take a bow, take a bow. Raw Sienna, we love you. I'll be honest, Raw Sienna is a very recent addition to my palette. I am able to mix it pretty easy using yellow ochre and maybe a little burnt sienna, that kind of thing. But I have to say, it's been really useful since I've put it on my palette. It has that nice little bit of opacity without knocking you right in the kisser, you know. It's a perfect color for painting landscapes, and it's probably going to stay on my palette, which is one of the reasons why we're featuring it, because I'm only doing colors on my palette for this lovely series. And I recently got me a tube of raw sienna, did a demo painting, but that demo painting wasn't like, these demonstrations are basically pure demonstrations in that it's only white and black. I will say this is one of the many of the demos that I've done. I've been missing yellow in the worst possible way because when white hits some of these colors, it makes pink, or in the case of orange, it makes an orangey, sherbety kind of color. I still do a good painting though. You watch, you wait, you'll see. The basis for this scene was a old pictorialist photo from the turn of the century. That is the basis for all of these paintings. One thing that occurs to me now might have been cool would be to have done the same scene for each painting and have only the pigment change. But the mind boggles at all the different things you could do. But to be honest, like for some of these pigments without yellow, they're not really getting their proper due, you know. But in a sense they are, because one thing that's been cool is I've done a lot of mixtures I would have never done before. I don't think I've ever mixed brown and orange together. And as far as raw sienna goes, it just proves how useful it is. I mean, what we're looking at right now is a mixture of bone black and raw sienna to create this dark grade black, and it's a pretty color. It's nice. And by the way, the panel itself is pine, and as are most of the panels in this series, with the exception of the last painting, which I did on a hardboard. That was for the raw sienna. I mean, raw umber. I got raw in the brain. And I noticed when I was looking at the gamma chart, there's four basic earth pigments, which is your umbers, your siennas, and your ochre. Actually, I have all of those on my palette, so you can tell I'm a big fan of the earth pigments, and you could do a ton of paintings just with those and some black and white. Interestingly, reading some of the histories of things, they weren't very popular until somewhere around the Renaissance. What was more favored was really bright pigments, like reds and blues and greens and things like that. Anyway, let's take a little walk, if you'll come with me over here to the Wikipedia page, and they have the I think same deal, because we have raw sienna. Later on, we're going to have burnt sienna, and we're going to just get into the first part of the sienna story today, and then we'll read the history of sienna when we get to the burnt sienna one, which will be, the painting's done. It'll be later in the week, early next week, something like that. Okay, so first of all, well, let's just read the article and then I will either interject or talk afterwards. Yeah. Sienna. From Italian terra di siena, meaning sienna earth, is an earth pigment containing iron oxide and manganese oxide. Exactly the same as the umber, by the way. In its natural state, it is yellowish brown. It is called raw sienna. When heated, it becomes a reddish brown. It is called burnt sienna. It takes its name from the city-state of Siena, where it was produced during the Renaissance. Along with ochre and umber, it was one of the first pigments to be used by humans and is found in many cave paintings. Since the Renaissance, it's been one of the brown pigments most widely used by artists, and I love it. I'm happy to sign up for the brown revolution, the new brown revolution, and we're leading the charge. We've been leading the charge with burnt sienna for a long time, but raw sienna is proving itself to be very handy and a very capable pigment. And I have to admit, I love being connected to. I love, the idea of putting a color down on a board that humans have been using as long as there have been humans. That feels really cool, and it feels great to be connected to the history of art and humans doing art in that way. And some of you probably know that I was a commercial illustrator for 13 years, and prior to that, I worked, several years developing the digital skills that augmented and complemented my ability to draw and illustrate. And when an opportunity came along, I was able to get a pretty good job. And I'd gone very deep from just a drawing background into the computer and all the things you can do with it. And after 13 years, I have to say I was pretty much tired of it. And I still do use the computer to, do the odd graphics thing, and of course to do prep work for my reference, including the reference images for this series. I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve when it comes there, but getting to my point, and thank you for your patience. Being engaged with physical art, putting physical paint on a physical board is so much more rewarding than anything that I've done in the digital realm. And I've done some amazing art in the digital realm. But again, there's that connection to humanity, the real world, You're creating an actual physical object that is a beautiful thing that will hopefully, regardless of what might go down or transpire with humanity and all of the changes and things that happen in our culture and our history, the painting ideally will keep moving through that milieu and taking on life of its own, living in people's homes and being appreciated, being looked at, being coveted, being traded, being bought and sold for ever increasing amounts of money as people realize that it is indeed a one-of-a-kind object that cannot be replaced. You can take a picture, and you can take a really good picture. In fact, these days they have technology where they'll take a three-dimensional picture and they can do a reproduction that's actually going to duplicate the three-dimensional aspects of the painting as well as the color. And that's about 18,000. You can get yourself something like a Van Gogh that would have all the raised paint, Still a print though, still not the original. And even like many of you, I'm sure have observed me paint the same scene repeatedly. I don't even worry about it because each painting created is going to be unique and one of a kind. The reference, the scene, that sparked it is just Christopher the Mill. It doesn't even really matter. It might be something actually, and I believe it'd be something that just other artists would be interested in knowing about because they're going to think, oh, there must be some magic in that. And sometimes there is a bit of magic. I always try and inject a bit of magic into the reference. The whole creative process starts when I begin to manipulate my reference. Yeah. Anyway, getting back to Sienna, even though Raw Sienna is a new addition to my palette, burnt sienna, which I probably shouldn't talk too much about because we have a burnt sienna video coming up. But burnt sienna is one of the very first colors that I added to the limited palette that I started learning my oil painting, learning oil painting with. Yeah. So Sienna's always been there, and I personally would love to go to that region of Italy. Hopefully, the world will come out of this, crazy situation we're in, and people can travel again and have normal lives again. That is a dream, and of mine. I'm definitely hopeful, especially for my dear wife who absolutely loves to travel. I am actually fairly content to stay in the studio and paint, but travel has always been very, very rewarding, and I've always wanted to go to this area of Italy in Tuscany and dig myself up a little bit of sienna dirt, check it out, right? I think that's awesome that we can take something like a clay, add some oil to it, and we're making pictures, we're making images, and that's so powerful, isn't it? Yeah. I think I had one other little article. I don't see a lot of people waxing poetic, This fellow, a mineral pigment from the soil found around Siena, Italy, thus its name. A warm yellowish earthy tonality with tones of orange. It has a medium transparency. Raw sienna. Actually, that's one thing I think would have. The painting came out really good. It's drying's like super matte in my studio right now, so you can't really see how pretty it looks. That's one great thing about the videos is like the painting as it looks at the end of the video, all the paint's pretty much equally wet, so you're not seeing a real difference between the shiny and the matte portions of the surface of the painting, right? But as it dries, the colors go matte, especially ivory black tends to go quite matte. And raw sienna itself goes matte, so it's a very matte kind of ugly painting right now, but when it's dry I'm going to be hitting it with a little coat of liquid and it's going to glow like a gem, and that's exciting. I can't wait for that. Also the scene, I was surprised it only took me about an hour to paint, and I'm quite happy with it, and it's one of these sorts of woodland type scenes. I should, by the way, I know we're pretty close in, there's a live version of this video. It's in the members area where you can be there with me in the studio as I'm taking on this challenge. And raw sienna came together pretty easy because you add that white, you get a pretty nice cream, but tip on over there. It's only $6 a month, and I think there's probably around 90 live videos there now, at least one or two every week. And so there's a live version of this this painting session there, where you're getting blow by blow, just like you were one of my students in the studio with me. And I think that's like super valuable, and that's one of the reasons why I used to have all these just on the channel. But it's something that deserves a little more respect, I guess, and some compensation as well. So tip on over to the members area and enjoy that. Also, before we go to my website, check out my store, go ahead and buy a painting. That's my favorite way to be supported. If you're getting any value from what I'm bringing to you here, help me out. I appreciate it. And I really appreciate those of you that have been sending me donations and stuff. You people are amazing, and I love you dearly. Thank you so much, and never change, never change. Anyway, until I come back with another video, please do me a favor, take good care of yourself, all your loved ones, be patient with other people that have differing opinions, please, and stay out of trouble.